adoption of the agenda. Do we have a delegation tonight?
I thought Corporal Mills was coming.
Okay.
Administration has no additions to the agenda.
Okay, I would like to make a discussion on 13.3 on patio permit. Can you hear me? Taking this mask off. Is there anything that council would like to bring forward? Could I have someone adopt the agenda then, please?
I'll adopt with amendment.
Councilor Anderson moves with amendments. All in favor? Carried. You have the minutes of the regular council meeting. Is there any errors or issues? Could I have someone move them, please?
I'll move the meeting minutes.
Councilor Morgan, all in favor? Carried.
In favor.
I sent out my mayor's report to everyone. Is there any questions from my report?
I'll move the report.
All in favor? Carried. Committee reports. Deputy Mayor.
March 23rd, I attended the first part of the presentation with Chief Louie through Reddy and Northern Lakes College. On March the 24th, I attended the Reddy board meeting. On April the 6th, I attended part 2 of the Chief Louie presentation. April 7th, the monthly SETI working group meeting, and then earlier today, the assessor's presentation.
You haven't had a landfill meeting yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Anderson.
The only thing I have to report on is I attended the assessors meeting earlier this month, or this afternoon.
Okay. Councilor Jess.
Good evening, everybody. On March the 26th, I attended the CAC Steering Committee meeting. And I do have something to add for our High Level Policing Society. We were granted our 1-year grant from the Government of Alberta for victim services and domestic violence unit. So we're happy to get that notice. The only concern right now is when we will receive that funding. While they've approved it, we're hoping that we receive it here within the next week or two. There are certain requirements that we have to follow up with to ensure that funding. Our AGM report and our annual file that goes to the Government of Canada. So we're submitting that paperwork as we speak, and we're hoping that we have the funding in our accounts by the end of the month to be able to allow a seamless transaction from laying our staff off last month to them not having to worry about seeking unemployment benefits if we don't receive it by the end of this month. So stay tuned for more information on that.
How much was your funding?
For victim services, we received 1 year, 100,000. And typically we receive a 3-year grant. As I've mentioned in the past, the Government of Alberta is reviewing the overall victim services program. and they're looking at changes as we move forward. So we expect to see some of those changes being implemented next year. So they're looking at like a regional concept. So the high-level victim services may look a little different in the future,
Okay.
and may be managed under a regional concept.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the High Level Policing Society may, again, I'm not sure, but we may end up losing that part of our board's responsibilities.
So regional as in,
Well, the victim services centers here in the north may be over managed, from Peace River. Again, we're not sure what that concept will look like, but it's going to be it more than likely will look a lot different in the future.
okay, thank you. Councilor Morgan.
On March 25th, I attended a Mackenzie Frontier Tourism Association meeting, same meeting that the mayor wrote about in her report. On March 31st, I attended a high-level municipal library board meeting. Biggest thing that's come out of that is we were all ramped up to open up the library to people, and of course now we've had to put the brakes on that, and we've gone back to the drop-off online portion of how we were doing it before. So, yeah. April 8th, I attended a Northwest Species at Risk Committee meeting. Again, the same meeting that the mayor's listed in her report. Also, April 8th, I attended a CEC meeting. Couple highlights out of that. We are looking to get a presentation on the Canada Jobs Grant, which will allow us to access funds to provide further training resources at the college to retrain people who lost their jobs due to COVID, which would be exciting for us because it would access more grants and help us to be able to recruit more students. There are currently 84 students enrolled at the high-level campus of Northern Lakes College, the majority of them working offline, obviously. We are doing our virtual convocation in May. The high-level CEC is going to write a congratulatory message, and they would like the town to, they were wondering if the town would be willing to post that message on our social media and things of that nature to congratulate the students who are graduating from Northern Lakes this year. And then April 12th, I attended the assessor's presentation. And you have a question?
No, I don't. Thank you. Any other questions from council? Okay, Councilor Welke.
Good evening, everyone. On March 30th, I attended the High Level Chamber of Commerce annual AGM. And April 6th, I attended a Banner of Remembrance Committee meeting along with the mayor. And then tonight, the assessors meeting prior to the council meeting. That's all I have to report.
Thank you. Could I just make a few points with my presentation? I guess the public can't see it, since it was sent to council. I just wanted to talk about the Banner of Remembrance for the public. We will be taking in applications again. So if you know people in our community or in our region that served Canada, if you would contact us to get an application. I know there are quite a few in Fort Vermilion and some in Paddle Prairie for sure. So we will be contacting those people. Also, I wanted to let the public know that we met with Minister of Education LaGrange, and we felt the meeting was quite successful. She was very impressed with our multiplex evacuation center. But she stated to us that she doesn't just go out and build schools, that it had to be on the school division's capital plan in conference with the superintendent of schools. The reason it's not on the capital project plan for the next 3 years is because they are sharing operational with us, not capital. So he will be sending more information to Minister LaGrange. And the last thing I wanted to mention was the NWSR, our draft BISTU sub-regional plan was released. It's on the government webpage. The public has 60 days to give their input. And right now, April 21st, June 8th, 9th, May something, I can't remember. But April 21st for sure, or yeah, 16th. There's slots at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 7 p.m. So if you want to have your input into this plan, please go on there and please sign up for one of these public engagement. So thank you. Could I have someone, oh, and the last thing, I got an email from Gord Burnell today stating that the government extended his contract for 1 year for ground ambulance at 2012 prices. So he says he's not going anywhere. If they put it out to RFD, he will be applying for that as well. So that's good news because Gord has represented us and looked after us very well over the past years. So could I have someone move the council reports?
I'll move the reports.
Thank you, Councillor Welke. All in favor? Carried. Council's action list. Is there any questions?
I'll leave it for.
I just have a question.
Sure.
No, that's fine, but I just wanted to know if council had any questions first of all. Actually, go ahead and move it. I'll ask it on the next one. Councilor Morgan? All in favor? Carried. The capital project report. I have one question to Mr. Straw. The walking trails. I thought we surveyed them last year for cracks and blah, 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 whatever.
Madam Mayor, we intended to do a trail inspection last year, it never went through. We did survey a large amount of the town's assets, the water and sewer stuff and the GIS. We are crack sealing the trails this summer.
You are?
Yes, that's our, so that's our work plan for the summer on the trail system. And the second part of the trail system is we do have a capital budget to look at our trails and pathways, and I'll be working with Ms. Wolf on the overall pedestrian plan. We'll be looking at it and bringing it and the trail system back to council to review this year. So that is in the capital project.
Okay.
And the only maintenance we have planned right now is just the crack sealing.
Okay, because the cracks are humongous.
Yes.
Like 7 inches.
It's quite incredible to see.
Pardon me?
They'll close that one for us.
No, it won't. I went out and measured how deep they were and how wide they were. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay. The financial report.
I'll move the project status report.
Oh, sorry. All in favor? Carried.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. The February 2021 financial report, you do see quite a bit of an increase for the accounts receivable, which mainly is made up of our 2020 capital contribution invoice to Mackenzie County and our NWSR invoicing out to the contributors. And the greater than 91 days outstanding does include one vendor, consists mostly of one vendor. And the February 28th, 2021 taxation, we do have a slight decrease. And the 3 accounts make up 44% of the 2020 outstanding balance. And I also just wanted to make a note that our public auction that we do have scheduled this year makes up $81,000 of that total balance as well for the ending balance. And the utilities we have for the end of February, we do see a slight decrease and the total is $44,245. And I did get a figure from our utility coordinator, and we invoice approximately about $160,000 out every month, so we're always sitting at about a 25 to 27% balance owing monthly for utilities. And if you look at I've also included a budget versus actual breakdown. This will be something that we'll bring monthly attached to the report. If there's any questions on this, I'll be happy to answer them.
Is there any questions on the financial report? Okay, could I have someone move the report, please? Councilor Anderson, all in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the monthly report to council.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, everybody online. I will be providing the general administration and the health and safety portions of the report this evening. General administration, a lot of work in the last month has gone into helping Boreal Housing, a lot with the transfer of Heimstead Lodge to the Crete Municipal Nursing Association. There's a couple of things I'm working on in the works right now with the Crete Municipal Nursing Association, both them looking toward their operating license and also working toward a nursing contract for the Heimstead. Mackenzie House has received its lodge operating license, so we can take individuals on the lodge side now as well as in the independent living. And the last report we had is it appears that the renovations will be done and we'll be able to take on the higher levels of care within the next few months, once those renovations are done. One of the big projects that's been occupying the senior administrative team is the asset management strategy. We've been working on that inclusion strategy, and that the revamp on the asset management plan will kick off on Friday. Most of the concentration for this year will be in the Public Works section that will follow up on some of the GIS work that Mr. Straub has done. The multi-purpose facility, that's ongoing. Director Wolf will give an update on that as well. Most of my side of things has been the funding and facilitating meetings. As the Mayor mentioned, we had a very good meeting with Education Minister LaGrange, and on Wednesday we have a meeting with the Minister of Agriculture and Forestry, Mr. Devin Dreescher. A lot of what will kick off here over the next few weeks is our federal outreach, because the federal budget is expected next week. And the rest of my time on projects was mainly dealing with the regional service sharing agreement with Mackenzie County. COVID-19, things seem to be changing rapidly. We have a situation brewing in town that appears as though we're hoping it's getting under control, but there has been some movement there. Of course, on the overall in the province, we've seen higher numbers, which has caused the province to go back to step one. Other than the protection that we've done for our own staff, most of the changes has been in the community development Department, or Community Services Department, my apologies, and Director Rolf will likely also touch on some of those. Health and safety. We had 4 incidents in March. 2 involved damage. In both cases, they were private vehicles striking town equipment. And we had 1 injury and 1 close call. Both of them, not surprisingly, at the end of March were slips and falls. All of facility tours were completed, and our organizational training compliance in health and safety was 94%. The Joint Workplace Health and Safety Committee has started the Employee Health and Safety Recognition Program, and the first monthly awards will be given out in April. Madam Mayor, that's my section of the report. If there's any questions.
Questions? Did we get something on Mackenzie House about it going to be upgraded?
Oh, sorry, no, that was a verbal report from the executive director late last week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That now that it appears as though the province, as they're sorting out the provincial budget, that it appears Mackenzie House is quite high on that list.
Oh, okay.
Nothing official yet.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Good evening again. Just an update on finance. We have mailed out our assessment notices before March 11th, and the assessment complaint deadline is May 18th. Our year-end audit has commenced in March, and Administration and Finance has met with Lane Quinn to review benefits renewal, and the decision was made to proceed with RMA as a new benefits provider. Ending in June is our date. And March 22nd, at the regular council meeting, 2021 final operating budget and capital budget was approved. And the 2021 arrears list was submitted to land titles by March 31st and posted. And Finance is very sad to announce that Tim Denoudston is leaving town of High Level, and we wish him every success in his future endeavors.
Yes, very sad.
Very sad.
Tim has been a great employee. Any questions from council? Okay, thank you.
Ms. Gavin, do the planning and development report.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Apologize, I was a few minutes late there. Just a few highlights from last month. For the NWSR committee, there's been a lot of work on this State of the Region report, so we've got a few appendices at the end. I think that's going to end up making up most of the final document. It's going to be incredibly long. But just been wrapping some of that up and been working on a lot of the content for the regional section, identifying data gaps and then looking at recommendations and next steps to try and fill those. HR, myself and Laurie completed 7 interviews for the Land Use and Planning Officer position. So I believe a job offer has gone out. I'll let HR touch on that. Assisted with lots of internal projects, asset management systems been mentioned, and assisting Director Rolf with the planning side of the multi-purpose facility and then the proposed annexation as well. The Development Department completed the 2020 Safety Codes internal review last month, and then we also started on an inventory of the relocatable industrial camps. And then we'll add the temporary bunkhouses as well. I think there's a couple missing still. The next step for that will be reviewing land files and the electronic filing system to look at permits, agreements, that type of thing that are in place, and then reaching out to the individual property owners and getting that up to date. And then regular bylaw patrols were completed, and business licensing payments and updates were done as well. And that's it for March.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Parsons will give the IT and the HR reports.
evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Report on IT systems. The systems were mostly stable for the month of March. We had no critical disruptions. However, the internet gateway upgrade that we did in November seems to have broken a few things that we weren't expecting, and we are still rushing to get those fixed up. I've spent a fair amount of time with technical support from both the building management system as well as Trinus on both of those systems, and I'd love to tell you we've got it completely sorted out, but we're making progress. Just a little bit of feedback on the Universal Broadband Fund scenario. They have started to announce selected projects. So far there has been 32 projects that have been selected, 8 of which are here in Alberta. Of the 32, they serve approximately 20,000 households throughout Canada. The 8 projects in Alberta serve approximately 12,000 residents, so there is quite a big focus on rural Alberta. They just haven't made it this far north yet, but we are hopeful. The Universal Broadband Fund is worth $1.75 billion. So far they've only allocated 13 million, so we're still very, very early days on where that's going. On the HR side, we have 2 new vacancies that have been created by the resignation of the sports complex operator as well as a community peace officer, and we wish Laverne Perot and Mark Rushton every success in their future endeavours. Been very busy with recruitment for the summer community services positions. We have a ton of resumes to go through, which we are sorting through, and I will be getting those out to Director Rolf for her review, as well as we have some going on for protective services on their side, and as well as finance for Tim Dan Hudson's position that was announced this evening. We have completed the recruitment process for the land use and planning officer, and an offer was sent out today to a candidate. I'd love to tell you that they have signed, not yet, but hopefully soon. We have no protected positions currently being covered by acting staff, and we're really glad to have Rob Shulman come back from his leave of absence, even though he is going to take some time to get fully operational. And that's it from me, if there are any questions.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Schneider, present the communications report.
Good evening. I just wanted to highlight 3 of the main projects that we had in March that we dealt with. One of them was we did a snow removal project that highlighted the work that goes into snow removal in the community. We had more snow than usual, was my understanding this year, so it was good to let people know kind of all the work and stuff that goes into that, because they're busy pretty much all winter doing that stuff, so it was well received. The second project that we worked on was the crosswalk video across the street from Spirit of the North School, and again, it was really well received. There was a lot of really good comments that came back from that. A lot of people appear to be using it, so it's in terms of communication, it was a big success for us. And the community garden project that we just did towards the end of the month involved a photo shoot on site with some of the new equipment that will be going into the community garden, and again, lots of great comments, lots of great engagement with people. So the only other thing I have to report is that our communications assistant has moved on as of the end of March, so we wish her all the best.
Questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ask Director Wolf to give the community services report.
feel like Dr. Hinshaw when I do that. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. So a lot of the work that administration's been doing in community services is working on the new multipurpose facility, trying to get it ready for our final engineered drawings. One of the things that was part of the geotechnical and topographical was looking at some of the land in the subdivision, and there was a well casing that wanted to determine the exact location. So we were able to work with Imperial Oil, and they subcontracted out and had a geophysicist come down, and he used electromagnetic conductivity and ground penetrating radar, which was really actually pretty neat. And he was able to work with manager planning development, Ms. Gavin, and get shape files. And some of it went back to aerial photography from 1950 and overlay the whole thing and determine the exact location, it was really neat seeing it back from 1950 to what it is now to where the actual location is. We're not worried at all as far as the setbacks. We're very easily able to, with where we're putting the subdivision in and the new multipurpose facility, have the proper setbacks. So that was good. As been mentioned a few times, working on the subdivision, the application has gone in from the surveyor. So now it'll be another part of Ms. Gavin's work to do for a while. What else we're working on? The community park, there was a good article actually in the paper. It was pretty detailed, so we have about 5.7 hectares cleared. And I'm just working on an RFQ for the geotechnical and topographical there before we continue on with the next phase of looking at the soil analysis and that kind of thing and how we're going to move forward there. The arena, we convinced the technicians to come down and work on the batteries on the angle, and they were, long story short, the main cables fried. They were able to cut off a portion, replace it, and we're up to 98% charge, so that's good news. They worked on quite a few other things too, but worked with our mechanic, and it was good. It went really well, so that's good. The arena's taking household-only bookings. Haven't had a lot of uptake on that. I think just the cost of it, and that hasn't gone over well. Hockey is still in there for another 2 weeks, and then that'll be it as far as COVID. The pool, they just opened up for lane swim, had to take that back out with the change of restrictions and COVID. And I'm not sure what's going to happen now as far as the school's rental use. We can technically still do it, but that might not happen. The pool is working on the NLS interest list. They've had really good uptake on that, so we're just waiting for the restrictions to ease up so we can run a course and work on getting some more lifeguards. They have rolled out the e-commerce, and they've been trying it out. It seems to be working, so that's exciting. That means we'll be starting to be able to take online bookings. The museum, we're still doing good on our one-on-one sales for people making appointments coming by. We had $700 in sales for March, so that's just people phoning up and coming in and shopping. So, and in the meantime, we're still working on our museum display. We'll have some of the Northwest species at risk, and there's all kinds of animal mounts that Ken's been working on getting from local hunters. So kind of exciting getting that together. Hopefully we'll be able to have people in to see it. We're keeping optimistic. FCSS, we still have about 18 clients that we've been assisting with our online phone for COVID assistance. What we're going to be working on is we have several students that are going to be coming from the college doing internships, and one of the projects we're going to have them work on is transitioning the people from the COVID assistance line to work towards giving them information on the vaccines as they're coming available and how we can work with them to get other health services so they work away from us assisting them anymore, because it should go to other areas in the health system. We already talked about community gardens. We have our FCSS leader registered to do the income tax. We've had 14 returns already. And our Easter scavenger hunt, big hit. We gave away 235 scavenger hunt kits.
You're still doing family at the pool? family.
Yeah, just the household,
Yeah.
yeah, and they've been really, really good uptake on those, they've pretty well been booked solid, so that's good. A lot of families are finding that they're really enjoying the, like, 3 or 4 of them coming out and having the whole pool for an hour, so surprisingly, it's been booked, and we often have a waiting list, so they even opened up a few other hours on the Tuesday, because basically we're running Wednesday to Sunday, so that's good.
Yeah, that's
Glad to
good.
see people enjoying it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about the family pool time.
Yeah, not so much the hockey.
It's too bad they don't allow grandmas to go with them, though.
We don't make the rules.
Is there any other questions? Did you find anything down in that well casing?
We didn't actually open it up, we just got the images of it, so. I should send them all to council, have a look at it.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll ask Director Straw to present the operations report.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Start off tonight with the airport. Our airport manager hosted our quarterly tenant meeting and users. We're trying to hold a meeting every quarter just to advise them as what's going on safety-wise and operations-wise at the airport, and see if there's anything we can do to assist or make the operations better. It seems to be turning out fairly successful. It was a Zoom meeting. Hopefully we can carry those on. We did have some challenging days with the heavy snowfall we got right at the end of the month, but our staff was able to keep it open. One of the things we've been dealing with this winter is the changing of the weather. The warm and the cold creates a lot of thawing and freezing. This puts ice in our pulpit. The pulpit is where all the connections are for every single runway light. It holds a transformer as well as the connection for the main cable. There's about 60 of them, give or take, all the way around the runway itself for the main lighting, as well as almost 3 kilometers of wiring that connect everything together. Well, one day they went out in the morning to do their normal inspection and all the lights were out. So then it was a matter of trying to figure out where the lighting was out. So they spent quite a few days thawing each and every one of those pulpits out, trying to find it. We did eventually find the section of cable. It was about a 400-meter piece we isolated it to. We were unable to pull a new cable through it because it's all frozen right now. So we strung a cable across the taxiway and got the lights back up and running, and it'll be like that till spring. So it was quite an interesting few days and quite stressful for our new airport manager. He's been there a couple of years, but I think it was the first time he ever ran into a situation like that. And it is quite daunting trying to locate it. It's 3 kilometers of line and a lot of connections to do, but it turned out well. Public Works has been pretty busy through March with snow removal, trying to get rid of our piles and getting everything cleaned up for spring. A lot of sidewalk areas in town when the residential have been very icy. A lot of that has to do with snow on the front yards melting and running across the walkway. We're trying our best to keep on it. It goes from melted to frozen overnight. So, the public has to be mindful that we can't take care of it every single minute of the day, that they should be cautious while walking along the streets. But we are trying to keep on top of it. As well as that, March we started thawing catch basins, storm sewers, those type of things, getting rid of the water. Quite a few tend to refreeze at night when it got cold, but it looks like we're so far keeping online, and we should have a pretty decent, easy flow this year. And I just wrecked that by saying it, but the weather looks like it's going to be really good this week. We put our crosswalk sign in. So far, I have the illuminated one that's been working very well. I've seen quite a few people using it. It seems to be catching on. And we had some minor issues with one of our with our sewer flusher. The heating coil popped a hole in it. We got about 15 years out of that boiler, and we replaced it, and it's back up and running, and we continue in service. As well as our mechanics service both our old sweeper as well as our new sweeper. They're both up and ready, and as soon as the ice is off the streets and we're clean, we're going to be out picking up with both sweepers, trying to get as much of the sand off the street as possible. So we hope to see that within the next couple of weeks, as well as potholes that are showing up as well. Utilities, we've finished our pump house changeout at Footner Lake. We're on track to replace the building this spring. That'll be going out for tender shortly. We had a diver come in and inspect our treated water reservoir where we store our water. They used a remote submersible camera to go look at the inside of the structure as part of our capital projects. So they put the rover in, it's like you see on deep sea rovers, and they had a good look at the inside and whether or not it needed to be cleaned at all. So he does require some minor cleaning, so we are gonna have divers up this summer who will sterilize and actually physically go into the tank and their full gear and clean out the bottom and make sure everything's back to normal. Water treatment staff have been assisting Paddle Prairie Métis Colony or Métis settlement with coverage of an operator. One of their operators had resigned or retired or something along that line, and they were short a certified operators, so we've been doing mutual aid with them and once a week going down as well as covering on call until they can get a certified operator. We hope they'll be back up and running sometime by the beginning of June. We're also spending extra time this year with adding enzymes and bacteria to our sewage lagoon in preparation for our spring discharge. The augmentation of both those things will help lower our nitrate levels and keep us closer to better quality of water and keep us within the standards required for discharge. And that's about it. Any questions?
Questions?
So with the airport, has Northwestern Air, now that they've started their scheduled flight, have they been maintaining their schedule or have they added flights?
As far as I know, they're maintaining their schedule. I think they were looking at going Tuesday, Thursday. Not
They
for
added
sure.
one day.
Yeah, the Tuesday, Thursday is the extra Tuesday, I think. Right?
Yeah, they added Tuesday.
Yeah.
And any update from Central Mountain if they plan to restart?
We've heard nothing, and maybe June they'll look at it again. We did reach out through administration to talk about their lease as well as some other things and see if we can get some feedback on any potential restart. And that went up today, I believe. But we've heard nothing yet.
Travel plans for the new hydrovac then?
We went and looked at a new hydrovac already in Grand Prairie. There's one sitting spec. Currently, we're working on getting our RFQ out. With the COVID, there's a 9-month wait on chassis to be delivered. We do have 2 lined up with potential suppliers, so that should be within the next 10 days. We should have it answered as to whether or not 2 specific hydrovacs have been built on spec, and they're very close to what we're looking for. So we're hoping that they're within the budget as well as are enough that we can bring them online quicker. Waiting for 9 months for a chassis and then another 3 months to build would take us into 2022, and we're not looking forward to that. So we're trying to work with our potential suppliers to see what the quickest turnaround is. Again, COVID has caused some issues. The Peterbilt plant, for one, was shut down for a month and a half, and they produce 100 trucks to 180 trucks a day. So there's a lot of shortage just by shutting down for a month and a half. So it's been frustrating.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll ask Director Schmidt to give the Protective Services report.
Good evening, Madam Mayor.
Good evening.
So just a quick report on Protective Services. Started out with the Community Peace Officer Program. Enforcement Services conducted 42 investigations, received 38 calls for service in March. Their major emphasis during the month of March was assisting public health with COVID-19 Public Health Act investigations. They laid some charges under the act failing to comply and had with the orders in 3 circumstances. One of those individuals was arrested. An arrest warrant included Public Health Act and charges laid by high-level peace officers, and was convicted along with those charges resulting in an individual being fined or remanded into custody. So that was a case of a repeat offender, continually not with regards to distancing and having contact with others. 12 arrests were made by peace officers in March, and we also had an investigation with our peace officer involving partnership with the RCMP that resulted in impaired driving sanctions being laid, and a firearm and weapons being seized out of the car as a result of a traffic stop. Our peace officer program is still working at half capacity in March, and as Charles had mentioned, return of our other officer happened this April here. And then we received a resignation from Sergeant Peace Officer Mark Russian, effective April 10th. Emergency management, no activations, continued communication with the Teleconference First Nations on assistance. We talk with them on a regular basis to see if they need any assistance, and their cases have actually dropped right off to almost 0 in Château as of last week, so it's really good news for them. We completed phase 3 of the Regional Emergency Plan Project, and we did receive a denial of funding on from the Alberta Community Partnerships Grant for phase 4. So we're working with the Teleconference First Nations. They're inquiring with Indigenous Service Canada to help with funding on phase 4 of the plan. So we're working on that between them and FCM right now. So we'll see if we can find that. Fire department, 22 calls in March. We had structure fire in Keg River that we were assisted by the Manning Fire Department. We attended 6 motor vehicle collisions. We had our 6 firefighters complete their FMR program. That was the 120-hour program on basic emergency medical care, and they all passed with flying colors during the program, so we're really happy with that crew. We started our wildland training because we expect spring sometime. So our wildland training is in the middle now, and we have it scheduled for provincial exam on May 12th. Our WUI grant program for municipal affairs concluded on March 31st. And now we have received word from Agriculture and Forestry about a 1-year extension for the 2021 season. We did receive a letter from the AFCA last week saying that the minister provided them a letter confirming the funding. I saw the draft agreement today, so we're expecting to have that sewn up in the next week or so. But it has specifically listed in their funding for the high-level team for 2021.
That's good news.
So we're just, we've already been on advertising to try and get ahead of the curve, and as soon as we're reviewing resumes here right away, and as soon as we get signed on the dotted line, we'll start the offers for hires. So, we're hoping to have the team ready for the hazard season in May. The WUI team themselves, the 2 that are currently there, have begun readiness of the wildland gear in the fire station. So they started servicing pumps, going through equipment in the wildland units, and taking all the equipment out of the structural protection trailers from stored from winter and getting them serviced and ready to go for the season. So lots happening on that front, and that's my report.
Is there any questions? Have you heard from Little Red on venue for vaccination?
We have not. So we did send an email out to them just over a week ago. We've heard a response, so we'll be following up this week as soon as I can. Likely tomorrow.
Yeah, I haven't heard either, but it is scheduled for Friday and
that's what I'm
Saturday.
hearing unofficially.
Yeah, well, they're rolling out on the reserve right now,
Right.
so.
So we're hopeful we can get that sorted out. We still have 3 outstanding members for vaccinations.
Okay, that's for first and second shots.
Yes.
Yeah, they did say on their notice that
Okay.
the one here will be for first and second.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you for that.
But I haven't found out where the venue is either, so.
Great. As soon as I know, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Madam Mayor, that concludes the administration's reports for March 2020.
thank you. Could I have a motion to accept? Councilor Morgan, all in favor? Carried. All business, the RFD for the 2021 tax year property exemptions.
Madam Mayor, Director Phillips will present that RFP.
Are you going to read all this?
tax year property tax exemptions for properties used by nonprofit organizations for benefit of the community. Just making a note that February 12th, 2018, at the regular council meeting, it was moved to exempt properties up until the 2020 taxation year, including the 2020 taxation year. So we do have 6 completed nonprofit organization applications that were received this year for the 2021 property exemption. We did add in the Northwest Regional FASD Society, and just a financial note for them, they were exempt in 2020, so under the previous owner Action North Recovery Center, so there is no financial implications with that additional application. And it is administration's recommendation to make exempt the property taxation for the 2021 taxation year of all the properties with the exception of 110495 95th Street. A current property tax exemption application has been completed and received from all community nonprofit organizations, and that these properties remain tax exempt for 3 years, up to and including 2023 taxation year. It was a quick 3 years.
Is there any questions? So you'll be notifying the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So, again, my only question is the youth center or the food bank, whatever, like, that's not used. That's the 1903 100th Street, and we had discussion about that last time. When they had agreed it was gonna be open to all members of the community. And I certainly can appreciate that COVID has impacted on lots of things, but there's been little, if any, use of that building in a long time.
It would be difficult at this point in time for them to, they're not allowed to use it for any purpose at all. Actually, perhaps Madam Mayor, Council wishes they could extend that one for 1 year, and we can bring it back next year once things open up and see if they're using it for the youth center.
But I thought they had said that that was their new food bank.
They do have it stated here that the youth center is, that the offices, food bank, youth clothing, and community hall is together. They didn't state that it was youth center and the food bank. But we could make that exception on the recommendation.
Sure. I respect that.
So you will be notifying them that this is a 3-year?
Yeah, administration will notify them with the council resolution. And if council wishes, we can do a yearly check. Administration can do a yearly check, just making sure that these properties are still adhering to the copter.
Mm-hmm. That one's been in question every time we have this exemption thing, we question that building because it's rarely used, even when they say it's used.
And we don't need to include it. It does adhere to the copter regulations, but we don't, it's council's decision, so.
So what's your motion, Deputy Mayor?
For the 3-year exemption with administration to follow up annually, to make sure that they all are in compliance.
Is there any discussion from the rest of council? All in favor of that motion? Carried.
Aye.
Okay, under new business, the RFD for reserve bids
Madam
and
Mayor,
conditions on property tax.
sorry, Madam Mayor, Director Phillips will present that RFP as well.
The issue is set reserve bids and conditions for the 2021 property tax recovery public auction. So there are 4 properties within the town of High Level that must be offered for tax arrears recovery auction sale for 2021. A tax recovery notification has been registered with each property in 2020. Before the public auction can be advertised, Town Council must establish the reserve bids for the properties to be offered for sale, as well as any conditions that apply to the sale. And it has been 7 years since the town has had a property sold in Town of High Level. And the this requirement has historically been met using the property's current assessed value for the reserve bid. And council can also place specific conditions on the sales of the property. Some options are as follows: a 25% down payment via cash or certified check is required within 24 hours of auction close, with payment in full due within 30 days. There are also other options. Payment in full must be received within 30 days of the auction being conducted with no down payment. In recent years, Town Council has always chosen option 1. The property owners that are listed in the property to be sold in the 2021 auction have been sent many letters, received phone calls regarding past due property taxes, and have been notified that they will be on the property auction list. So administration's recommendation would be council to set the reserve bids based on the current assessed values of the properties and establish the sale conditions that a 25% down payment via cash or certified check is required within 24 hours of auction close, with payment in full due within 30 days.
Okay, thank you. Council, discussion?
Question, Mayor McAteer? Is there a map of these properties?
No, there isn't.
There's one
No.
map book.
Just curious as to where they even are.
Madam Mayor, we can send that out to council, but that wouldn't necessarily be relevant to the question.
Right.
Right, I agree.
Question I
Yes.
have, especially on the third one, with no payment being received in almost 4 years, how come this wasn't on the tax list last year? I don't know.
I'd have to double check with administration, but I believe that there was arrangements made for payments. Just looking at the past dates of the payments that were made, I believe that they cleared up the balance in order to remove themselves from notification, and then they went back on notification if they were more than 1 year.
That seems to be the
It
conversation.
seems like
I
what
recall.
normally happens.
Like this says the last payment was received July the 5th, 2017.
Yeah, I believe that this one was cleared up then, and then they, for 2020, now they're more than 2 years in arrears.
But then wouldn't it show that we received a payment in 2019 or 2020?
No, it would
No.
be 3 years at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, so they would have cleared anything up for that 2017 deadline and then removed themselves from notification. And then they would have continued to not pay anything at that point.
Any other questions? Could I have a motion, please?
I'll move the recommendation.
All in favor? Carried. The next one is the RFD Terms of Reference for the Banner of Remembrance.
Madam Mayor, Director Wolf will present that RFP.
So the committee met recently for the Banners of Remembrance, and one of the discussions that came up was they would like to expand the committee and felt that it would be good to have a member of the RCMP on the committee as well as a member of the public at large. I felt that the banners were really well received and they like to have a bit of a larger committee. And so that's basically what the changes are in terms of reference, and then just some cleaning up just so we didn't have quite as specific dates down there. So just going to, that the banners would be up 3 weeks prior to Remembrance Day and taken down about 3 weeks after, depending on the ability of Public Works, whatever they have going on at the time within their regular operations.
Any questions? Again, I missed that part of the meeting because I was in my office, sorry. My only concern would be with the RCMP member, and maybe they'll choose somebody that's transferring next year, because it says in the terms of reference they have to serve 2 years.
Well, that'd be the preference just for the continuity, but if they're able to sit for whatever length of time, you just replace them with someone else. So that was the idea, is that you go through 1 year. It's like everybody just sort of has the hang of it. So we'd like everybody to go for 2 years, so the 1 year would renew the people that are on there right now next year, and then you'd have the new members coming on for 2 years, so there's always a bit of continuity.
Okay. Any questions? If not, could I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Councillor Anderson, all in favor? Carried.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next one is mine. And the reason I put it on here is because with all the closures and openings and closures for restaurants and it coming into spring season, I was wondering if I've been reading like other places where they have been relaxing laws and permit funds and everything for even making one-way streets for restaurants so that they could have outdoor patio facilities, and actually installing outdoor patio facilities. So I was wondering if this was something that our administration could investigate with our restaurants, if this would be something that they would like to pursue for the foreseeable till September, October, I don't know, whenever they're going to open restaurants again.
Madam Mayor, if I may, can I ask Ms. Gavin to come forward? She's already done considerable work on this.
Oh,
We
great
anticipate-
minds think alike.
Yes, they do. So I worked on this a bit over the weekend, and yesterday I put together, we got 5 documents. So we've got guidelines, an applicant agreement, a permit application, notice of approval, and a poster for social media and a newspaper. So I sent this to Clark yesterday, and Laurie as well, to have a look. So I had a look around at what other municipalities excuse me, are doing, and I did have a chat with the Flamingo a couple of times in the week as well. So this is where the initial push came from, and basically we've put down a set of guidelines, need a few little edits from Clark's review, but pretty much we should be ready to go this week. And basically it's, in a nutshell, the permits will be temporary development permits. They'll be free of charge, valid until October 1st, with a pretty fast approval process. I mean, we'll probably look at like a minimum 2-day turnaround, if that, as long as they conform to all the guidelines and then sign the applicant agreement as well. And then there are clauses in there as they can obtain permission from neighbouring businesses to extend across their frontage as well if they're not a restaurant, those types of things. In terms of using the public sidewalk, we've looked at things like not leaving the tables and chairs out when the business is closed, bringing them all in case we need to clean up or whatever we're doing. Those types of things. Having an inspection as well for fire-related things. They'd have to submit capacity of the patio so they don't get too large. And then abide to all IHS rules, so there's social distancing, having more than one exit so we can have like one-way and then having an inspection as well for fire code related. So we're almost there. So hopefully by, within the next couple of days we can get this out. We're trying to hit the newspaper for Thursday is our deadline, I guess, for ads. and get it out on social media. We'll have to add a new page to the website, so all the 5 pieces of information will be up on there.
So would this include like maybe a tented,
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely, and we've got, you know, a few
a garage cover like they have in
Yeah,
front yards?
Yeah, a few rules in there about garbage and snow and ice and stuff, and just keeping it clean and those types of things. I mean, this will benefit restaurants that either have patios or don't. For the Flamingo, for example, they have a patio, but they were looking at creating another one that was just for families, so that there isn't alcohol and whatnot going on in there. So that's totally up to them. But we just wanted to set a standard set of guidelines that everybody could follow pretty easily. So, yeah.
Well, I investigated 3 communities that are doing that. And I even have pictures.
Yeah, so that's where we're at with that.
That's awesome.
Almost there.
Very good, I'm glad to hear that. So that's my information. Does someone want to move that for information? Nobody? Deputy Mayor,
Thank you.
all in favor? Carried.
Aye.
So the next is the correspondence for information. Does somebody want to move that, please?
I'll move 15.1 to 15.7 for information.
Councilor Morgan, all in favor? Carried. So that concludes our public. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. And if you have any questions or comments about the reports, please forward them to our administration. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes? Yes? Councilor Welke?
Yes.
A question?
No, no.
No, that was,
I think it was-
that was me,
The top one.
Councillor Jessman.
Oh, do you have a question?
Are we in a break right now?